All of our files are free and will remain free. If you like the show, you can show support by donating $1 to help with expenses. Just use the PayPal link on our website, YouTube channel, or Facebook page. Thanks.
And we're back with Peter Levenda.
Hello.
The investigative researcher who's responsible for what may become the first disclosure ever of anomalous aerial phenomena, otherwise known as UFOs. Now, this topic won't be complete only with softball questions, so we're going to change gears even more than we did in the second part. So are you ready for gloves off?
Anytime.
Great. Oh, by the way, 'tis the time after Christmas. We call it Romjul, but you don't have a word for it in English.
Not really.
I guess you say the week between Christmas and New Year's or something. So,
yeah.
Have you had a nice... You know what we say in Norway? We don't say Christmas, actually. We say jul.
Sure. Good Yule, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even the Christians say jul.
Yep.
Totally oblivious of the heathen tradition. But have you had a nice Yule down in Florida?
Oh, it's probably nicer than up north. 85 degrees, Fahrenheit, and warm and sunny, and
right.
No snow, no wind, no nothing. So yeah, pretty nice.
Right. Yeah. That's like, for us, that's equivalent to celebrating Christmas in Greece or something. So
yeah.
Okay. So let's get our hands dirty. And I love the fact, like I said in part one, that neither of us are UFO freaks, which I think makes this fresh and unbiased, because we're not Johnny-come-laters either. I mean, we're both on top of the subject.
Sure.
We're just forced into this position of covering it now.
Exactly.
And you're such an all-arounder anyway, because you're kind of the perfect guest for us, because we're not just into conspiracy, we're also into spiritual stuff, Nazi stuff, mysteries, and esoteric stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
And that's what you're about. You're kind of having an arm in all the directions we're ourselves exploring. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm an octopus, that's for sure.
So are we.
Okay.
By the way, I was criticized in one of our programs that I interrupted you too much. I'm really trying to hold my tongue here, let you speak. Is it working for you?
Oh, it's fine for me, but I mean, interrupt away. It's no problem. I will talk for hours without a break, without even knowing if someone's on the other end of the line. So don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, it's a balance. You have to make your point before I, hit you with another one. So
sure.
But yeah, let's do our best here. So before I confront you with the last questions I have on the agenda here, pretty critical questions actually surfaced from many of the critiques. I want to say, I want to ask you if there's, because I haven't read the book, is there something in part one that we should cover now that we're talking about it that we haven't?
Wow. It does cover a lot of ground. I mean, I'm not saying that to be cute. It's
Sure.
It's something that I started with the cargo cult concept, and really talking about the actual cargo cult, the way it started, the way we discovered at the end of World War II, and since then, and using that as the template for what we go through. And I go through the various religions, but I also go very deeply into mystical practices that mirror these same ideas, like the Merkava mysticism of the Jewish Kabbalists, for instance, the idea of descending to the chariot and having these mystical experiences on 7 planes, related somewhat to the 7 planets and going to the throne of God again. All of these ideas are talked about, but from different points of view. I actually do bring up the French philosophers, for instance. I'll talk about Foucault in some, relationship to this, ideas about the body. What really is it? If we don't understand what the body is, how will we understand what an alien body is? If we don't understand the implications of our own, what are boundaries? What is...
a body is kind of a spaceship, isn't it?
It's a kind of a spaceship, right? It's a machine for moving our consciousness from one place to another.
Exactly, in the 3D world. Exactly.
Yeah. So all these ideas, these concepts are talked about in Secret Machines, in Gods.
Must be a very philosophical book, despite...
Yeah, it is. I think it's why a lot of people sort of reacted against it for that reason. I think they were upset by it because they were hoping to see that I had a dead alien on a slab or something. And really what I was trying to talk about was we need to look at what we've been told about the quote-unquote ancient aliens for so long, and then re-examine that, reinterpret it, because a lot of it is just wrong, or a lot of it is sort of wrong-headed in the approach.
Simplifications.
Oh, very simplified. And sometimes they've been debunked already. Certain claims they've made have already been debunked. And our approach is, let's forget that. Let's look at ancient aliens from a different perspective. And let's see what the ancient people actually talked about when it came to their experiences, and stop talking about it like it's mythology, like it's a fairy tale they made up. The ancients spent a lot of time writing this stuff down. They didn't have smartphones, They're etching cuneiform. They're into clay tablets to record this. This is important. The only other things they recorded were financial records. So that's how important the religious records were. They're equally as important as their banking accounts, right?
Right.
And that's all they wrote. They weren't sitting there making up stories for kids. This was something that was crucial, critical to their civilization. So let's give it the respect it deserves and stop talking about myths. Happen after an event takes place. A myth is an attempt to explain something that actually took place. The myth doesn't come before the event.
No.
First there's the event, then there's the myth.
Yep.
So what event is that myth, so-called, trying to explain? Let's go back to that, and let's see if there's some similarity to other civilizations recording similar experiences. And Secret Machines Gods is about that. It's not a new agey kind of approach to the subject matter. It's, let's look at this soberly, and let's look at what the ancient people have said.
Like adults. Yeah.
Yeah, and connect dots, and just try to find out what this is all about, setting up the stage for what comes next in book 2.
Right. Good. I'm looking forward to that. You sold me on the books, if not the entire project, at least the books. But I am inclined to, honestly, I look at the project that DeLonge has now, no matter what intentions different people involved has.
Yeah.
I look at it as a disclosure project 0.30, because first there was Greer stuff in was it 2001 or something like that? Then there's been this secret space program movement growing up, and now we have this 0.3, which is, so it is kind of similar in many ways, but some of the criticism that he has gotten is that, you said that many people accuse him of, he's only into it for the money and it's commercial, and you can't blame people basically for that, because if you look at how other people, even Greer, with all respect for what he managed to do back then, even he has some very commercial aspects to this, notwithstanding all the quacks, right? All the bullshitters out there, con artists. So it is a big business. That, in fact, it has been, because there's been no adult conversation about this, it has been suppressed to manifest in the entertainment world, in the entertainment industry. That's where it's flourished. Yep. So enter this Academy to the Stars thing. And I don't know if you know dark journalist Daniel List. He's the new host for the Secret Space Programs conferences. He took over from that Swedish fella.
Yeah.
But he's been very critical. He's burnt already because of the Corey Good thing. But he was very early scrutinizing DeLonge. And he pointed to that, for instance, this academy is based upon, it's basically a movie and book film production company, more than a school. And and those people are all pretty critical to, but you've already explained that there's so many Intel people here that they think it can be an Intel op. But let's disregard that. You have accounted for that. You have given good explanations. I mean, if not them, who, right?
Right.
So back to the commercial aspect of it. is it so that, because I don't blame someone for, I mean, you have to make a living. What are we supposed to expect, for instance, from you? If you don't write books and you don't get money to buy your bread, you can't convey anything to us.
Right.
So I'm not one of those who bashes something for that there's some money making involved. But of course it all goes back to the prime motive and where the whole thing is going. So is this just another Gaia TV, another cosmic disclosure kind of phenomenon that's being rolled out?
Well, look at it this way. Tom DeLonge does not need the money. Tom DeLonge is wealthy many times over. He was like I say, he was a rock star, mega platinum. He's very well accounted for financially. He doesn't need the aggravation, basically. He's doing this because he loves it. He's doing this because he's been involved in researching UFOs for his entire life, since he was like 20 years old or younger. So this has been an obsession of his for a long time. So that's number one. To say that Tom is doing this for the money is kind of silly. If you knew anything about Tom DeLonge and his financial background in the one case and his fascination with UFOs in the other, you'll know this is just a pet project, basically, where Tom is.
I know both of those things are correct. I know he's been obsessed with it, and I know he's a wealthy man. So yeah, I back you on that point.
Yeah, he's not doing this to make himself rich. He doesn't need this. So he's doing this because he really believes in it. Now, about the money, where the money is concerned, I've been accused that I'm in this for the money. The only income I get from this entire project are the royalties on any books that I write for Tom DeLonge.
That's not much at all.
No, that's it.
Royalties today on books.
Right. That's it. So it's a labor of love for me as well.
Okay.
I don't own part of To the Stars Academy. I don't have shares in it, anything like that. I'm talking about it because I believe in this project and in the books that I'm writing for it. So that's it. So we're not here saying, oh, we're going to make a fortune on these gullible people, who love UFOs. What did we accomplish just now? We accomplished a disclosure event, which is so big they're still talking about it in all the UFO circles. They're violently debating it, but there it is. It's a fact. So that's pretty good in my book. Now, is it primarily a movie making thing? No, it's not. That's one division of To the Stars Academy. We're going to be doing serious scientific work. There's going to be a television program which is it's a non-scripted thing. They're going to be trying to update everybody on what developments have been made, what progress has been made in various areas. There'll be interviews with various of the people who work with the project. So we're going to be talking to people who know what they're talking about, who have those kinds of academic credentials or whatever you want to call it, talking seriously about this material. So yes, there's TV and movie projects involved in this. There's other novels that are being written by, for instance, A.J. Hartley, who's doing those novels, the Chasing Shadows books, and there's me doing the To the Stars rather, Secret Machines book. So from that aspect, that's going on one side. But if you read on the website the entire financial disclosure forms and everything else that's there, you're going to see it's very different. It really is intended to be an educational project.
So it's a transparent project?
That's the word transparency they use a number of times. They want this to be completely transparent.
That's very good, because it has to be if it's going to have any cred among people. Because we have to be skeptical. 50 years, 70 years of disinfo, misinfo, and secrecy. It's going to take you guys a long time to earn the public's trust. But I think you're making a good case for it, at least at this point.
Well, we know it's going to take a while to earn the public's trust, but by the same token, we're not asking the people for anything.
Right.
We haven't created a cult. No. We're not saying believe in us. We're not saying make donations. You can buy stock into the stars, but that's buying shares in the company. We're not asking for you to give us your money for something. We're not trying to create a religious cult-like environment here. This is not what we're about. Tom definitely is not about it. Neither am I or anybody else that I know involved with this. We're just simply out here trying to do the best job we can do with this kind of material. So you can believe in us or not. I guess my advice is just sit back and enjoy the ride. Yeah. If you see something you like, then you like it. Great. If you don't like it, turn the page and go someplace else. But we're going to keep doing what we're doing regardless.
I think most people fall down on I mean, there will always be critics and fierce criticism and trolls and everything, but I think most sentient people can see that both you and Tom has idealistic intentions here. Of course, much of the heavy criticism is that it's an interlops and he's being played. He's like a useful idiot.
Right. And I've been accused of the same thing. And, Jimmy Church interviewed me not just a little while ago when this whole story broke. And he says, people are accusing you of being, a tool of the military industrial complex. And I say, well, if I'm a tool for disclosure, I'm a happy tool. I have no problem with that.
Right.
So it depends on the end result. If I'm being used and manipulated as a convenient way to get out the truth about this phenomenon, I don't mind.
What if it's a spin?
I'm okay with it. Huh?
Okay, but what if it's a spin you're being used for?
Well, of course, I'm just saying this, in general terms.
Sure.
I might have objections if I'm being used to promote, a certain evil agenda. Of course, I'm going to be upset about that.
Yeah.
But if this is just a medium for the powers that be, whoever they are, to get this information out to the public, well, that's fine. They need a medium to do it, and any medium they use would be suspect.
True.
So I think that Tom, being the way he is, as you say, a very idealistic, very inspired, very energetic guy where this is concerned. He loves this stuff. And so that's where that comes from. And as for me, I'm loving it from my own perspective, which is we're finally getting somewhere, and we're going to use this to change people's perspectives about reality and about government too, their relationship to government. Stop waiting for the government to disclose to you when you can actually do this on your own. Go out there and look up, and see for yourself what this is all about. You don't have to wait for other people to do it for you. Study, read, go to school, learn from the academics to start with. Learn about all these things that have this weird, mysterious component to them, whether it's genetics or physics, biology. There's all these unknown mysteries buried in all of the sciences, things for which they don't have answers yet. Let's look at that. Let's see what that's all about. Study engineering. Build us the next flying saucer, get us there. I mean, this is what we're trying to get people excited about the UFO phenomenon, because it opens the door to so many other disciplines.
And even in a more system critical and maybe even borderline paranoid scenario where they have all these things, we should still do those things you say, because then it means that they are ready to roll it out to us. Even if they had it, right?
Exactly.
So, and we won't. That's what we've been demanding for 70 years. They won't do it if we're not receptive of it. So,
and what's the alternative?
Right.
Is the alternative to turn our backs and close our ears and say, we don't want to know, we don't want to hear it, we don't trust you? And then we are left with what? I understand the paranoia. Believe me, I write about conspiracies. That's all I've done. I've interviewed Nazis, who've held guns at me. Yeah. I understand paranoia, man, and that was in the United States, so I understand this degree of paranoia. Believe me, I've been there, done that. But at a certain point, if the government is saying, I'm willing to show this to you, and do it openly, none of that Richard Doty stuff, no phony offices with fake documents, but here's the stuff, give it to the world. Well, I'm there for that. And if later they tell me some lie, I'll catch them on that as well. I'll call them on it. But right now, so far, we're okay. Everything is happening okay.
So you will do that. You pledge to air your frustrations if you discover ethical stuff that goes.
Oh, absolutely. Of course. I've done this my whole life. That's why I write the books that I write. So I'm not going to suddenly become a shill for the establishment.
No, but I want you. That's why I want you on record. Many people blame you for that already. So I want you on record for that.
Well, if they blame me for that, they don't know me, they haven't read my books, and they haven't thought about this very deeply.
Of course.
So, if they think that I'm out there what's my motivation, really?
Right. No, I think sentient beings understand that worst case scenario you're being played. But
sure.
Again, I agree with you. This is a game I want to be played on. So
why not? This is great stuff. The New York Times is talking about UFOs.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so huge. It's so huge that I think some of the underwhelming. I think it's like being in an accident. One reaction in an accident is that it doesn't dawn upon you what's happened yet.
Right.
I think we're in a kind of transition zone now where people they don't really understand, and I think it's a good thing because if there's no drama, I think maybe the powers that be are encouraged to release a little more.
Sure.
Because the big excuse for them has been that we can't handle the truth.
Right.
And now the truth is underwhelming.
Yeah. Obviously we can.
We'll see. Don't underestimate the infancy of the masses.
Sure. Well,
because one of the good things that will come out of, if they take the next step and the next step, we're not there yet, but if they're taking the next step and the next step, or not they, if we all do that, then, which is your point, then one good thing, and here's the petty part of me, is that I can go on social media and troll all the skeptics. I can just go to a skeptic group and just write right. And link to something, right? That's a good thing. But here's a bad thing. Are you prepared? What I'm going to face you with now is probably the worst case scenario anyone can think. Mm-hmm. And I want you to comment on this too.
Okay.
Many people will, some people, it's better to say, will say, okay, nothing good comes from these people. And if they are now actually taking steps to admit stuff, that's actually the last thing I want, because that means there's some agenda. And the only agenda you can see in this paranoid modus, which isn't without merit to think this, is that they are ready to roll out a fake space invasion or something like that. Because now they've used up the rogue state scenario, they used up the terrorists, they're trying to go back to the Cold War and make a boogeyman out of Russia. But it just doesn't stick. So what else can we do to keep up and maintain our military-industrial complex? We need a good enemy. So enter the UFOs, like even Werner von Braun predicted a long time ago. Mm-hmm. People, this is real. We don't know why it is. Wow, look at that. Oh, it's turning around. Wow. Oh, we have to prepare. We have to put more money into... We have to whitewash the 40 trillion we've already robbed, and now we need to get people voluntarily to put money into this. More weapons, more paranoia, more control. And it may not even be anything else than their own little toys that they are using against us to get us on board with maintaining this old, militaristic, hostile paradigm. Have you thought about this?
Oh, yeah, especially since people have been bringing it up and saying, oh, this is a false flag operation. Yeah. This is getting us prepared for the alien invasion scenario, just exactly what you said. You can take paranoia, I think, only so far. The problem with this whole scenario is that what if there are real UFOs and they are in the sky and they're not the enemy and they're not killing us, but they're there? What kind of disclosure would you expect to happen if the government came clean on that? Well, that's exactly what's happened so far. No one's come out and said they're attacking us. I would really love to see if what you're saying is true, and this is part of an alien invasion scenario they're gonna throw at us. I want to see the special effects.
Yeah.
I want to see them actually prove to us that we're being attacked by alien ships. I want to see this, because that's the only way they're going to sell it to the people, that there's an invasion, is if they can show an invasion.
True.
So how's that going to look? Are they going to attack some small town in Arizona or something, or will there be really good film footage, or can we work that out on our desktops, and just Photoshop the whole freaking thing? I want to see what kind of special effects they're going to use, because that is going to require a massive project. And of course it would involve Hollywood, because they're the only ones that would, Lucasfilms or somebody who has the access to the special effects that the world has never seen yet, and put that thing together and convince everybody this is taking place. And then at the end of all of that, what's the benefit? What are they going to get out of us they haven't already taken?
Covertly, yeah.
They've taken everything covertly, right? They've taken pretty much everything. There's not much else left to give. No. So what else can we possibly, how are they going to benefit?
Plus, it's so risky. It's so risky because people don't protest almost anything. But if someone tried something like that, it would be a global backlash. People would run them down in the streets.
Absolutely. Of course it would. It would be a terrible flop.
If it failed, and it's so many potentials to fail.
Oh yeah, it's got so many flaws in that argument that if you could talk about terrorists, as we have in this country ad nauseum, and you can try to say they're from this country or that country, they do this, they do that, and you get one incident of somebody blowing something up, and that's all the justification they need. With an alien invasion,
yeah, can't you transfer that to aliens too? Aliens come and beam, zoom, bam, kill some on nightly news. They beam, I don't know, the Italian Parliament or something.
And then,
I mean, it is equivalent.
And what's our reaction? What does the president, God forbid, come out and say in a situation like that, right?
Especially this one.
Does he come out and say, we've been attacked by Martians, we're now going to go and bomb Mars? Right? What is the appropriate response to being attacked by an alien?
That's true. They'd be fucked.
Where do you find them?
Yeah.
Yep. Where's their fortress of solitude? I mean, where do we go to get them? I mean, there's too many problems with the scenario.
Maybe I can see a scenario back to the 30s, right? They're among us. We have to find the aliens among us. We have to start
that might be cool.
That's scary.
Or they're in a cave in Afghanistan. That could be the other scenario.
That's probably true. Iraq, I would say.
Or
Syria or Iraq.
Who do we want to invade now? I've lost track. Is it Syria or is it where?
Well, but I'm thinking
Korea. They're in North Korea. The aliens have taken over North Korea.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking.
That's it.
Yeah, but Sumeria, man. Sumeria. That's where it's right. Yeah. So no, but you're right. That scenario is so risky for them, and it's so many flaws. And I doubt they could pull it off. At least at this point. At least they need to channel this disclosure into a specific direction.
Yes.
We haven't seen that yet.
Exactly.
We've only seen step one, which is now. It's so open. It's so totally open that it can go anywhere from here.
Yeah.
Actually. So per today, any rational being would not already reject the whole thing, but they would not buy into the whole thing either yet. They would be on the fence. They would be interested. They would talk about it. They would encourage what you guys are doing and others too. Investigate, discourse, find out. That's the best approach we can take right now.
Right. And it's the one that
open-minded.
It's the one we support and applaud. We don't want people to buy into anything and take it at face value 100%, because we ourselves are still struggling with this information. We're still trying to put it in a way that we can understand it and communicate it. So points of view are more than welcome. We're not asking anybody to drink the Kool-Aid here. There's no Kool-Aid. We're out. So all we're going to do is say, we have our books, we have our other projects that we're doing. We're releasing information as we get it. These people who have been talking will be made available to talk in other fora, maybe television shows and stuff. They've already been talking. Chris Mellon's been on TV. Luis Elizondo's been on TV. They've all been starting to talk about this. So we're making this available. They're there. They're talking about it. And it's up to you to decide if this is valuable to you, if this makes any sense to you, if you want to keep talking about it. It's open season. We don't own this information, right? It's just coming out. We're helping to facilitate it. And that, that's as much as we can expect to accomplish. Past that, it's whatever falls out from it. Perhaps somebody comes along in a week or a month or a year and starts picking apart the videos or some of the documents we release or something. That's fine. We will defend what we can defend to the best of our ability to do so. But we're not doing anything to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. This field is full of that. If we wanted to, we could have, right? If we were these disreputable people,
right.
Tom has enough funding behind him and all the rest, we could have made some outrageous thing. And we could have done some weird videos and done some strange stuff and promoted the alien insect theory or something. Any of this was possible and probably made a lot of money at it. But we're not.
Good point.
We're not interested in doing that. There's a lot of stuff we could have done had we been of that mind to do it. That we just we're not. This is what we want to do. We want to get as close to whatever the truth is as possible. And if there's any documents hiding in the Pentagon or someplace, we want to see them. Any videos, let's release them. Let's talk about this. Let's show it to people who could analyze it as not part of the government. People who are engineers or scientists who can take apart the videos, take apart the documentation, analyze it, and come back. This is great stuff. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, you keep saying government, but don't forget the private industry is big time involved too.
Oh, yeah. Well, like we have Lockheed. the guy from Lockheed with us, and we're talking to other people too.
Oh, you do? You even have people from that industry? Wow.
Oh, the former head of the guy who was developing those secret weapons out at Skunk Works. He's part of To the Stars.
Jeez. Wow. Okay. Then I will expect more good stuff to come out, because I was kind of thinking one possible scenario is that because of the blow that happened with, for instance, Rogan, and then the complete WikiLeaks incident and all that
right.
They were now cutting off. Okay, those people, you off. Now you go over to DeLonge, to the academy, but then they're cut off. They can't get anything else from the inside sources. But you know what? I'm now thinking that doesn't matter, because obviously there is still a clearance from there, since they got the CIA newspapers on board. So there is actually sympathy among those who haven't come out as whistleblowers either. There is a goodwill. I don't know if goodwill is the word, but there is a willingness to like I say, I think maybe we are seeing that they're putting the big toe in the water to test the waters, so to speak.
Well, it could be. And what was I going to say is that the work that everybody is doing it's in their heads. If no other whistleblowers come out, let's look at it this way. Let's just start with what we have and say that's it. The people that we have on board have tremendous stuff in their brains, things that they've been working on, things that they've seen, things they understand, things that they can bring to the table because of their unique perspective in all of this, without breaking security protocols or anything else. They are people who can lead you in the right direction. They can answer questions intelligently, and if they can't discuss something, they'll say they can't discuss it, which in itself is a kind of knowledge that we get. Okay, this part is off limits. So if nobody gets cut off, we have guys who are so deeply inside who are coming out and working with us that they're bringing their expertise to the table, and that's also very valuable.
And then, why is it called an academy?
Well, because he's going in that direction. Tom wants to create an educational institution. He wants this to be a place where educators can come together with students, with people from all walks of life, and to share information on all of this on different.
So not just a think tank, but also interacting with the broader public.
Right. It's going to be a kind of reinterpretation, I think, of what we think of as an academy, because probably a lot of this is going to be online, and there's also going to be a lot of interactive components to this, according to what Tom and I have discussed and what I've heard from Tom, is that we're talking about a lot of interactive stuff, media that is concerned with this as well, so that every individual person can feel they're actually part of what's going on, contributing to it, and also getting the benefits from it, from learning about where all of this is going. So it's an academy in that sense. It's going to be educational, but it's also going to be more 21st century than 20th century in terms of academy.
So what websites are out there now connected to this?
Yeah, the one that people should look at if they're really interested in this, and let me see if I can call it up to get the exact wording. It's the To the Stars Academy. I think it's To the Stars AAS. Yeah.
I guess I can just Google it.
Let me see if that works. It's taking a while.
So I have another question while it's loading.
Okay.
You mentioned in part one a document that you had or something that I didn't quite catch what that was about. You were showing a document to the Intel people, or you and Tom? Were you maybe referring to your book, or?
Oh no, that was the prologue to Secret Machines Gods. If you look at the book Secret Machines Gods, the prologue, right after Jacques Vallée's forward, there's a prologue. That prologue was a document created independently of the book. That was the first chapter, you might say, of the book. And when I sent that to Tom, he was very enthusiastic about it, and then started showing it to the people who were advising us. Right. Just circulated amongst all of them, about 10 different people, I suppose. And they all came back with tremendous approval of that document, and they started opening doors so that Tom could talk to these people at NASA, or these people over here at the Air Force, or wherever. Doors began to open because they saw that we were not taking some kind of ancient aliens approach. We weren't taking a new agey kind of Space Brothers approach either. This was a very sort of practical and pragmatic approach, but it was also kind of unique. by saying all of human history is basically a cargo cult. They, for some reason, they responded to that very positively.
Maybe they actually learned something from it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Oh, here's the here's the website.
Yeah.
If you want that for your people, it's To the Stars Academy. If you Google To the Stars Academy, you'll be led right to that website. But it's HTTPS. If you're going to use the secure one, it's the -- it's dpo.tothestarsacademy.com. And it's got
DPO.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but it's there.
Okay.
And you have the video that the footage that you've seen in all the stations. You've also going to see a lot of other stuff, the other projects that are involved, plus a list of people who are involved called the team. If you click on the team, you're going to see the team. You're going to see a lot of different people who are involved with us, starting with Tom, Jim Semivan, Hal Puthoff, Steve Justice, who was the aerospace division director at Skunkworks. He's the director of the Academy, the aerospace division.
Right.
Luis Elizondo, who everybody knows by now, Chris Mellon. Gary Nolan is involved, genetics technologies consultant. We have Paul Rapp on brain function and consciousness. We have Norm Kahn, Dr. Norm Kahn, National Security Program Management. We have Colm Kelleher, the biotech consultant. We have Adele Gilpin, biomedical research. So we've got a lot of people in the sciences who are involved. It's not just the military industrial people.
No. Why haven't he? I mean, he should totally approach either Catherine Fitz or that professor. Let me see, what's his name again? He was interviewed in RT and many other places. I mean, the money side, but I guess maybe if he involves those people, he will lose the insiders because they're not ready to admit the missing money.
Well, yeah, plus, I don't know, Catherine Fitz has been a lot on Dark Journalist, and Dark Journalist has been very dismissive of the project, so it may be that's just going to be a bridge too far at this point, since there's a bias.
Dr. Mark Skidmore, Dr. Mark Skidmore is the guy, that's the guy I was referring to.
Yeah, that does sound familiar. I think that may have come up in something. But okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, he's a big time, he's a tenured, that's probably why he has the balls to do this. He's a tenured professor who has now verified with all his graduate students that 40 trillions is missing from the US agencies since 1998. So that's just the beginning of it, and I mean it has to go into. But I'm not saying that this necessarily explains the UFOs, because the UFOs has been there since time immemorial.
Right.
But that they have more. Let's put it like this: they have $40 trillion of toys or developments in their books that they are not ready to share with us yet. They shared like what? $1 million of it so far.
Right.
So I'm expecting to see more if they really want to integrate society, our collective consciousness, with the breakaway or with at least the insider perspective. They have a lot of steps to go. But let's see. I'm open. Let's see where this leads. I'm totally open to this going everywhere, which is kind of exciting. I kind of almost prefer this state of anything can happen.
Sure, why not? I mean, like I say, there's no mythology behind this. There's no ideology we're pushing. We're just saying, hey, look at this stuff. That's really cool. So
yeah. And it is impressive that you got them on board by showing them. This means you were actually involved before you were taking into the warmth, so to speak.
Right.
So you've seen this process?
Tom had one or two contacts he was working on and not really getting very far, the way I understand it, the way he described it to me. But when he showed them the prologue, which we're calling our mission statement, basically, when they saw that, suddenly the barriers fell down. So
you were involved in developing that?
I wrote it, yeah.
Wow, then he should be kind of grateful to you.
Well,
you've been an essential part of this process.
Well, he's never denied that. I am an essential part. This is something that we've been working for, like I say, for my part since 2015. So it's only been 2 years, but
yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you mentioned it very early.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah,
but you weren't ready talking about it back then,
right? And always having to say, well, I can't really discuss this, or this is a secret, or. Yep. But now it's kind of, now I don't have to worry about that so much as I had to before.
And I also know that Tom reached out to other people too. I don't know if he did with Dolan, but he did try Farrell. But of course, Farrell isn't too fond of Podesta, neither am I for that sake. But he kind of was spooked. He was very skeptical.
Well, people have fallen for a lot of the stuff about Podesta, which I find just crazy. I mean, if you take away all of the weird stuff.
No. Forget the pedophile stuff.
Yeah.
Even forget that weird stuff. Mm-hmm. He has been directly involved in rigging the primaries. There's no getting away from that. And I'm not saying he has to be a saint to be sincerely interested in UFOs, right? I mean, he's a human being like you and me, sure. and who can bear scrutiny. But I've never been in a position like him where I have done something like that. That's the difference. Right. And he has, so we know he's compromised when it comes to ethics. Maybe he tells himself, oh, I did it for the right reasons, I wanted to do the right thing, whatever. Maybe he's better, maybe he's more sincere when it comes to UFOs, but he is tainted from his own actions. There's no getting away from that. I'm not blaming Tom, I'm definitely not blaming you, but Podesta is a liability, man. Come on.
Well, I mean, okay. If you're going to talk about...
Sorry to put you on the spot, but that's my opinion.
When I heard about all of this stuff and I was reading all of it, my first reaction was, well, I have never seen... I mean, I've been involved peripherally, politically every once in a while, right? Yeah. And I've never seen any political campaign that was run ethically. Yeah. I mean, there's no such thing. It's politics, right? It's sausage making. You don't want to see how the sausage is made. And it's dirty business. It always has been, no matter which party, no matter which candidate. And they've all been dirty. I mean, I'm a great fan of Jack Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy, but they did a lot of dirty stuff in their time,
They rigged it themselves, I know.
Yeah. I mean, at what point, you could say a plague on both your houses and walk away from it, or you could become involved and engaged in some way and try to force this thing to work in a way that's ethical. But it requires everybody's participation to do that. When people don't participate, it goes off the rails because anything then is possible. And that's politics. It's dirty. And anybody who actually wants to become president of the United States is going to have to be morally compromised. I mean, there's no way out. No way out.
But you're still in touch. You're in regular touch with Tom, right?
With Tom? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now, I recommend that you say to him that, if it's possible to bypass Podesta somehow, because he is so unpopular among so many people that he will just be a liability to the whole project. I don't know if it's possible, and I don't know if he deserves it, at least not according to Tom's perspective. Right. But I'm telling you, if you want to taint that project unnecessarily, involve him.
No, but everybody's making a big deal, but I haven't seen Podesta since 2015. And when the WikiLeaks happened, that pretty much was the end right there. Right. So we have not been in contact. As far as I know, Tom hasn't either. No one's talked to Podesta in all this time. He has tweeted. He has tweeted when the disclosure happened a week or so ago. He tweeted stories about it on his Twitter feed.
Sure, I would expect that. Yes.
But that's about it. There's been no contact. There's been no communications. I haven't spoken with him. I haven't seen him. I haven't sent an email, gotten an email, nothing. So Podesta.
Okay, because many people seem to think he's some kind of spider in this, but he's not.
No. We talked to Podesta for one specific reason. He was always identified with UFOs.
Yep.
He was then chairman of Hillary's campaign. So we wanted to know, okay, is Hillary going to come out and declassify the UFO documents? How's this going to happen?
Because she did. She spoke about UAP. I think that's his doing.
She did to UAP. Yes, he did. She did. And yes, that was, everybody knew Podesta was doing this way. We knew Hillary would probably have worked to declassify a lot of UFO material. But we talked to Podesta, and he was very clear on this whole subject. He says the U.S. government is a different kind of animal than, for instance, the governments in Europe, where they can declassify stuff kind of willy-nilly if they want to, or they can come out strongly in favor of the UFO or not. There's been a lot of public acceptance, more in Europe than in the United States. But here, he says, it's got to be different. Number one, declassification is an animal. It's a beast. People classify things just to make sure they get read. You're going to read a document that's marked classified. You're not going to read one marked declassified. It sounds boring, right?
Good point. Yeah.
So people will abuse the classification process. That's one issue. The other issue is there is no one person anywhere in the U.S. government, in the Pentagon, State Department, any place else, that's in charge of all the UFO material. There is no one department.
It's a huge bureaucracy.
It's a huge
right?
bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So even the president can get anything the president wants. And the president can say to his chief of staff, go to the Pentagon and get me all their UFO material. The problem is the Pentagon itself doesn't know where all that UFO material is, right? It's going to be buried in different departments. It's going to be stuff that was buried because they didn't want to implicate their fellow pilots or whatever, or they didn't want to affect his advancement, his promotions. There's going to be reports buried here, buried there. There's going to be stuff all over the place. He said, you have to know what you're asking for specifically and ask for it if you're president, and you'll get it. But if it's an open-ended, vague kind of thing, it's going to be really hard to respond to that. And the bureaucracy protects itself, right?
Sure.
It's illegal to tell to the president, no, we're not going to give you this information. But by the same token, he's got to be very specific as to what he wants, or they have a loophole for not giving it to him.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
So he explained all this. It was very good because that gave us the understanding that we needed to go back inside and talk to people and try to find out how this thing worked. And where
Podesta admitted this thing you just said now? That was from Podesta?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And that's
because it makes totally sense.
It's not a mystery.
Catherine Fitz had the same experience when it came to money and budget.
Yeah. There's no one big box, where all that stuff is. You can go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and demand to see their UFO material. It's like, where? Tell us exactly what department.
Yeah, what do you mean?
What do you mean? They don't have a box that's labeled UFO. They'll have anomalous videos maybe in one place, anomalous materials in another, or whatever. I mean, there's going to be stuff scattered all over the place because there's no official UFO division, right?
And especially, I think, in private industry, maybe that's also why they're ready to disclose, because much of the hot stuff is now privatized and off government hands. But you were kind of jumping a little too fast past one potential thing, and that is that even though all you said there is how it works, there are still possibilities that there are black groups that have gone rogue. So they're not officially a part of the president can't get to them because they are treasoners, basically. They have networks where they... And I won't even go so far as to talk about Majestic. I'm just saying networks or black projects within, they're so hidden in layer after layer after layer. You see what I mean? Deep state kind of thing.
Sure, but you have to understand also how government works and the military too. That can only work for short periods of time. Everybody gets promoted. Everybody gets transferred. Everybody is subject to somebody else. To develop a black operation requires a lot of cooperation all the way up and down the line. And once you have that degree, it's not going to be black anymore. It's going to be kind of gray. Someone's going to be able to follow the money, right? One of Chris Mellon's jobs was following the money, to finding out where things were and how things happened that way, and what projects were being funded and that sort of thing. It's hard to do what you're saying on a consistent basis, decade after decade after decade. I mean, you have to then pass the keys on to the next generation, right? It's the X-Files idea.
Or destroy the evidence that happened in 2001.
Or destroy the evidence. You can have the X-Files scenario, where there's the cabal within the government that is in charge of this. But then you'll see always the same people. It's always the cigarette-smoking man, right? I mean, if he's gone, that whole cabal falls apart. He's the guy who held it together, who made the hard decisions, who tried to borrow the money, bury the money, hide the money, kill off the opponents and all the stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it's one powerful guy.
There isn't.
In reality, no.
Exactly. So once you have three people can keep a secret if two are dead, and that's really what you have. I mean, otherwise, why would a government employee take an oath to protect this black budget unless there was something in it for him? Right, or her. What is it?
Yeah,
what motivates?
Yeah, sorry. Plus, they are going back and forth. Now I'm a leading politician. Now I'm head in the bureaucracy. Now I'm a head of a private corporation. So it is a class of people moving about, like you say. It's not just a draft going through the official state, but it's also to private and it's also to all powerful institutions.
Sure.
It's the same kind of people moving around.
Yeah.
So most of them would have to be in on, or at least many of them would have to be in on it if they were going keep it up under wraps.
And this would mean they could be, and they could keep these relationships outside in the private sector as well. But the secrets they're going to be hiding are going to be pretty manageable secrets to hide. They're not going to be secrets that involve 10,000 people working on a secret government project, right? You can't hide 10,000 employees in the U.S. government. It's really hard to do that because of how they get paid. Just simply the fact of where do we mail the checks? They had that problem.
Well, missing trillions.
Well, I don't know about that. I'd have to go and look at that and see where those missing trillions, well, what's that based on? But I'll give you an example, Area 51, right?
Mm-hmm.
Area 51 was black. Nobody was supposed to know it existed. But people did work there. So how did they get paid?
And Manhattan Project. Same there.
Well, Manhattan was under time of war, the government could do anything. They could clamp down secrecy like a lid very tightly. Yeah. But in more or less peacetime like we are now, it's really hard to do. So Area 51 was supposedly black, and it was, but people did work there. They got checks, right? They were paid salaries. So they were paid through front organizations. The people who flew the planes out of Area 51, the spy planes, the U-2s, were CIA pilots, right? So they were flown to go to work from California aboard private planes, flown into Area 51, then flown back out again, like at the end of the week. And their relatives never knew where they were going or what they were doing. So that's the level of secrecy you have to maintain. And that was okay for Area 51 out in the middle of the desert. But to do that on the scale that people talk about where the U.F.O. project is concerned, like we're building all these secret weapons somewhere and doing all this stuff, that leaves a trail. You can have front companies, you can have paper shell companies and all of that, but eventually it leaves a trail. And eventually people get moved around, people die. People leave documents in their homes or in their cars or whatever. Look what happened to Bob Lazar, you know.
Or change of heart.
And the change of heart's the big one. So
especially when they're about to die.
And look what happened, though. Look, what did we have? We had people like Luis Elizondo leaving the government specifically for this reason and coming out and saying, okay, enough is enough, right? And we have Chris Mellon coming out and saying, yeah, I'm on board too, and all these other people who came on board. So there is a time when that happens.
Oh, I'm so torn. I'm so torn between kudosing them big time,
right,
and
being suspicious,
very skeptical.
Yeah, right.
Yep. But that goes for the whole phenomenon. Exactly. That's just in line with
that's the whole thing. That's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I ever get a drone, I'll send it down to Antarctica immediately. And then to Lockheed Martin's projects.
There you go.
I think that will give me some. But you know what? I think I squeezed you as much as is fair at this point.
Okay.
I'm expecting there will be developments in the future where we have more to talk about this.
Sure, there will be.
But meanwhile, I hope to get you back sometime this year to finish our Nazi gore.
Sure. Let's try that.
Yep. So it was such an I think we touched most bases that's possible. Not necessarily in the depth it deserves, but at least we made people aware of all these aspects. And you've gotten to clear up some of fair criticism and some of the unfair criticism. Do you agree with that?
I think so, sure. And like I say, the criticism is not a problem.
No.
The unfair criticism is a little annoying, but the fair criticism...
But that's unavoidable. That comes with the territory.
It's unavoidable. Yeah. Absolutely. And as far as money and black budgets and stuff, we none of us know enough about that, to really come down and say, well, yeah, they spent this much money on this project or something. So there's a lot of skepticism where that's concerned, obviously.
Look into that. You need to... If nothing else, to be able to account for that as a part of the big puzzle. So I can send you links for that too if you like.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to send you a link to the NASA UFOs. You need to enjoy that. That's one of the things that opened my eyes. Just so you know, because I was, like I said, kind of interested at a childish level when I was young.
Yeah.
Then 15 years, no interest, and then I was confronted both with Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project, all those insiders, and then I saw all this footage where this NASA footage is one of them. So I'll send you that, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll see how this very exciting thing turns out.
Excellent.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for coming on again, Peter.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Enjoy New Year's Eve and all that stuff down there in that paradise.
Yeah. And you try to stay warm up there in the frozen north.
Rub it in, why don't you? Later, lad.
Okay, bye.
Thanks again to Peter for coming on and basically just taking on any question heads on. So who says you can't discuss hard questions in a cordial tone? I'm gonna give you now my judgment call for what it's worth. I mean, you make up your mind, I'll make up mine. But I'm the one with this mic. So after having reflected upon this, and after having aired my concerns and potential objections with Peter, I'm going to go through this rationally and come to some sort of conclusion. But first I want to say the poor audio quality was not due to our making, like editing or anything. It was a faulty line. Oh, of course it was the aliens beaming the line. Now, a couple of practical things. And I have to keep nagging about this because not everybody listens to every of our shows, but most of you have by now registered what's popularly referred to as YouTube Gate and the Adpocalypse, and it has struck us. Eventually, nobody can get away from the censorship and the corporate takeover, and short version is that the dying mainstream media have a ploy to survive the fact that the platforms are drowning like TV and newspapers, so they are going to take over YouTube because it's the most popular, it's the largest online platform out there, and they are leeches, they are parasites, they can't create. So the corporate media can only hijack, like corporations do, it's in the nature of corporacy. They can hijack whatever is out there, whichever is floating, and try to feed on that as much as they can. But it's very full, and the plan is to take over and launch all the mainstream media there, everything, not just like CNN, anything, MSNBC, Fox, abroad too, BBC, you name it. But, of course it will fail. Because the fact that you're listening to me rant now, and not to their spin, has nothing to do with the platform. It has to do with the contents. When you listen to me, you know I'm keeping it real. You know you're getting a free, independent voice. Whereas when you tune into the corporate media, you know you're getting the oligarch Kool-Aid. So it won't work, but what they will manage to do is ruin YouTube. I mean, YouTube was fine until Google took over. So the only way is down from there, but we'll keep at it as long as it's possible. But already now we're seeing trouble. And they're not all powerful. They are dependent on you, the users, the listeners. So you can battle this to some degree. For instance, you can help us become more visible. You can help us get our counts up. First off, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. That's the most essential thing. The more subscribers we have, the more power we have within the YouTube system, and a lot of connotations from there that I'll not bore you with now. Second, if you click the bell, then you can stay updated. If you just subscribe, that's not enough anymore. It may be, but it's not a guarantee. For some, it is clicked without they maybe even knowing. But if the bell is not marked that you get all our updates, then you won't get it. So go check it. The bell I'm talking about is next to, I think actually it's even going to be next to this video under the title. But it's definitely in the landing page up on the right corner. I'm speaking from a desktop view now, because I hate using YouTube through mobile and pads and all that. There are bells there too. I'm not exactly sure where it's placed, but it's not rocket science. You'll see it. It's next to the subscribe button anyway. So please mark the bell. And if you really want to support us, if you've listened to 2 or more shows, you know you're going to come back. But if there's going to be anything to get back to, we need your help. It's more important for us right now to get more audience than it is, for instance, to get donations or even helpers. I mean, donations are crucial and helpers are essential. Otherwise, you'll get a show every second month. But we were actually considering, we actually decided to close down the forum. Was it this year? Or was it late 2006? I don't remember. But we barely didn't do it. But we can't keep doing this, without it being viable. Because I'm not financed by the corporocracy. I have a life. My time is precious like everything else. And it's not just a matter of existence, it's also a matter of improvement. So if you want us to get the right guests and the big names too, we need you behind us. Because not everybody is like, let's say, Joseph Farrell. He's very generous, idealistic, he gives us of his time, although he doesn't have to. But not everybody plays by those principles. Some are bogged down with requests and prioritize the big outlets. So sure, you can get those guests from, let's say, Coast to Coast or Jimmy Church or whatever, but if you prefer the forum take, help us help you. Make it happen. So not saying don't volunteer to help us or don't donate. I'm saying if you can get, let's say, could bring in one more listener, bam, that would do miracles. And share it on social media, share it with your friends, your network, whatever. But let's say you're thinking now, yeah, but I don't know anybody who's interested in UFOs and disclosure, which is incidentally the topic of today, right? Well, think of someone who you could share our shows with and think of what they are interested in, and then find one of our shows who has that topic. Because we have many different topics, and our aim is to have much, much more diversity in what we cover. So there will be something for most people. So be a doll and give us a hand here. Because it's not about me. I mean, I'm one of those who actually can say that. I mean, you've hardly seen my face or my name or my personality. I try to keep it in the background. I try to keep focus on the subject matter and the guests. Sure, I opinionate, but that comes with the territory. Otherwise, we could just put a Google bot to do this. So it's about us. It's about those of you who actually enjoy this format, this way of doing it, and we all have to pull our share. Oh yeah, and we have and there's something new at YouTube now called the community page. Take a look at it. It's where you see our tabs at our channel. There's something called community. So there we post, for instance, polls. Do vote. It's so interesting to see where you guys are at. Actually, right now we launched a poll regarding this specific thing that we're discussing today. Interesting to see where you people come down on this. And apologize to those who think we abused the poll. We spewed out a lot of polls in the beginning because it was fun, but we'll calm down. We'll not make it into spam in your mobile or wherever you get the notifications. Now, I'm going to go through this systematically here. First off, I want to say, after hearing through the show myself, Peter was wrong on one thing. I can arrest him on one thing. He said every political campaign is dirty, but that's not true. In recent times, I know at least of two campaigns who did no tricks, and that was the Ron Paul campaign back in the day and the Bernie campaign that was screwed by Hillary. So those two were driven purely by youth, by idealistic people, the Lovolution, the traditional way of doing politics, namely boots on the ground, idealists, volunteers, not financed by big corporations or oligarchs. Another potential disagreement with Peter is the extent of the SSP. Peter seems to think it was a low-level thing. I don't know, he may have bought into what was disclosed by Senator Reid recently. But let's cut him some slack, let him look into the 40 trillion missing money, and we'll see where he ends on that. I'm sending him those links. So now to the matter at hand. After having discussed every angle with him that I'm not an expert, but from what I could conjure up of objections, I have to say it's pretty obvious to me that Peter and Tom are sincere in this. They obviously believe in this. Sure, you can be a cynic and say the psychopath's lying or anything, but that would just be your subjective interpretation based on nothing else than your own emotions. Whereas I have to relate to facts, and everything Peter has said so far checks out. You don't need a degree in psychology to realize that at least he believes in this. Doesn't mean it's legit. It doesn't mean you can't infer anything else from that than that they are sincere. So let's get past that. And by the way, you can never see into the hearts and minds of anyone. So what really motivates people is anyway impossible. All you can go by is words and actions. And so far that checks out in their case. You may disagree, but then show me proof. I'm not talking about the entire project now, talking basically about the sincerity of Peter and Tom. Now, he took all questions, all criticism up front. He had no problem with that. Check. He had no pet theories. Like he says, that's no Kool-Aid. He wants debate. He wants research. He wants this to be a collective venture. That doesn't compute with someone who has a classical cult or the kind of sinister agenda, so check. You can still spin this and say that the insiders realized that, we are cannibalizing our science, we need this out in the open system, because if all this stuff was in the open, if academia, media, ordinary citizens, if everyone was in on this thing, if everybody knew what was going on, if the whole civilization, the whole culture was up here, then you would see an incredible acceleration of knowledge. The reason we are held back, we should actually be much more ahead than where we are today. The reason we are not, the reason we're so stagnating on so many areas. Remember back in the 50s, they thought we were flying around in our own private UFOs by now. The reason the world is going to hell in a handbasket is precisely because at every corner, at every door, there's gatekeepers, there's obstructionists, there's trolls, there's shills, there's censorship, there's quench, there's the cold grip of the corporate hand. It's artificial. It's not an open marketplace of ideas. It's not an open marketplace of, markets. It's not an open anything. Academia is so corrupted, media is so corrupted, the citizens' ability to check, to regulate or defend rather, ourselves against the big brother is dismantled. We're the hamsters on the wheel now. We're ruled by a criminal class. There's one rule for us, basically tyranny, and there's no accountability on top, and I could go on. Let's not even go there. You know what I'm talking about. So, but in a natural system where everything is on the table, there's a synergetic effect. And maybe they realize by now that, we need access to all the bright talents out there. Every day there's born geniuses. But they're not brought into that paradigm. We're locked in this artificial paradigm. It's like a medieval ages compared to where we could be. If you look back at the medieval ages, you see how far we've come, right? Well, say we're now in a futuristic medieval age, and then imagine where we can go. So fine, that may be an agenda for the disclosure, but so friggin' what? We still get it. So what exactly can we get here? Let's go through this rationally. Let's take objections after objections and see where it's most sensible to land on this. First, the creep and election cheater, Podesta, that's debunked. So if others were as poorly informed as I was, it's out of the window now. Podesta has nothing to do with this project. They approach him, like they've done with many insiders, trying to get something out of him. Which I don't blame them, which they actually did manage to, and which is logical since everybody and their mother knows Podesta has been into UFOs forever. So whatever, that blew over with the WikiLeaks, and it's not even an issue anymore. So if you hate Podesta, has nothing to do with this. Take that hate elsewhere, has nothing to do with this, okay? So remove that bullet from your pistol. Then, it's the very legitimate criticism that came before DeLonge delivered anything, back when he was doing the media rounds with claims and allegations. Oh, I can't talk about this or that, no names, no nothing. I mean, you could choose to believe him, or you could reject it, as indeed many did, or even indeed outright ridiculed him. But that's not on the table anymore. He has delivered. I'm not saying everything, but he started. He's proven what he said so far has checked out. People has come out with full names and open about their background. Not anonymous bullshit, right? In academia, in government, in military, in intel, etc. And even more than I would ever imagine would happen. Because, honestly, I've never, ever, ever believed there would be disclosure from officials. I thought there would be disclosure, but it would be forced upon them from something. Like, go read AD of Richard Dolan. So, what is this that I would never imagine would happen? It got out to the mainstream press. Without being ridiculed, so far. I don't know, it can go everywhere from here, but it was at a level that here, where I live, deep sleepwalkers, professional skeptics, everyone registered it and had to relate to it and discuss it. It was forced upon them. That's a wave, man. All over the world. Put on the agenda. Not done yet. The battle isn't won yet. It's not clean yet. But it's step one. So now there are Joe Rogan objections, that DeLonge is a loony, a megalomaniac, etc. It's out the window too. You can't use that anymore. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see what else we can find to knock this downwind. Yeah, then there's the commerciality. Now, I've been thinking about that, and even if DeLonge doesn't need the money or whatever, you could say, oh, it's just a ploy to make money. I mean, greed, right, and all that. But if this was real, they would still have to finance it. What, you say, oh, it's only real if Tom DeLonge spent his fortune on this and got poor in the process? Is that what it takes? Fine, I'll actually respect that argument if you find some case you're burning for and then you spend all your fortune, even if you're poor, spend everything on it. Then you can demand that others do it too. If you're not willing to do that with whatever pet ideals you have, why would you expect anyone else to? So I don't buy that. Even if Tom DeLonge wasn't rich, actually, that works to his advantage right here. But even if it wasn't, he'd still need to finance it somehow. You could say it's a wrong model. Why using, going into the system, the big capitalism system? He could, let's say, do as the BEM, Breakthrough Energy Movement. He could crowdsource, make like a cooperative or a union thing, whatever. Well, sure he could. But then your criticism is just he should be more socialist and less capitalist. And that's another debate. Then we're not even any longer debating if this is real or false flag, etc. Now you're nitpicking how you would prefer this would happen, right? I mean, that's it's his prerogative to do it the way he thinks is the best. And as long as the aim is not commercial, if the aim is what they say it is, which so far checks out, then they need a system to finance it. And I'll say I'd be much more skeptical if the government financed it directly. In fact, it would be fucked at the outset. You know why? Because government can't finance anything without there being a ton of bureaucratic rules and regulations and premises, and it wouldn't go anywhere. Most of the money would be wasted. So this is one model. And by the way, if they crowdfunded it, they would probably get even more criticism then. Because then people wouldn't get anything back. Now, those who have some extra money to spend and want to spend it on this instead of buying shares in whatever else bullshit is out there, let them do it. They're actually helping us. Because like Peter said, they're not selling anything. They're not selling information or anything. So, okay, money goes in there. They can keep financing their... Because they're building some kind of media outlet here. Because you can't rely on the mainstream corporations. So let them spew out movies, documentaries, books, whatever. Let them hold conferences, let them have think tanks, invite on academicians, have open debates. He said it was going to be transparent. If it's not, fine, we have an argument. But so far, it is. So we have to be able to have two thoughts in the same time in the head here. If they were crowdfunding it, damn, it would be backlash. Then they would say it's highway robbery in broad daylight. Because then it's just giving them money and getting nothing back, right? Here we don't have to give them any money, and still we're getting stuff back. So I actually think for that project that DeLonge has, this shareholder approach is actually more optimal, I think. Whereas for Jeroen Stratton and the Global BEM, that project, their crowdfunding is more correct, because that's also more of a group. That's like a group effort from the grassroots, whereas what Tom DeLonge does is to get not the grassroots but the insiders to come out to meet us in the middle. So I don't think that is a criticism. If you can enlighten me and tell me why we should reject this whole thing based upon the way they've chosen to finance it, you tell me, because right now I can't see it, okay? So, bam, what are we left with? We're left with that it's an interlope or a false flag. So, okay, let's look at that, because now that the practical objections are out of the way, we are down to intentions. Unfortunately, it's a fairly simple equation, actually. So I'll walk you through it now. We have hypothesis 1. And from what I'm going to say, that it's not, as far as I can see, there's not any other options than what I'm going to rule out for you now. Hypothesis 1. DeLonge and company is doing this with the blessings of the system. That's the first premise. That's the first hypothesis. There's two possibilities here, two subpoints. A, something sinister is up. Okay, they're doing it. They're in cahoots with the system. But something sinister is on the agenda. For example, a false flag. Well, I did discuss this with Peter, and never mind the good arguments he gave and that I also thought of in the course of the discussion, because we don't need them actually. Sinister false flag is a fair objection. However, at this point, it has nothing going for it. Because look at what we got. They've delivered so far. And if it is a false flag sinister, we have to wait and see for the developments. You can't just go by fearmongering. We have to wait and see if something happens. Let's say, next step is, there was a shooting between a brave, heroic, patriotic American fighter plane and a sinister, bad UFO. Okay, then, and only then, can you legitimately stick to this belief. Because at this point we have to let facts and evidence take precedence. You can't build a scientific hypothesis based on speculation and fear and then reject whatever in reality goes against it. Well, you can, but then you're a religious nut, and we're not having a debate. I'm not debating with you. Off you go. So at this point, if you want to be rational, at this point it's a hypothesis in the drawer. Okay? I'm not saying forget about it. It's totally possible still. But it's only valid as currency if and when something backs it. And believe you me, there's so many people believing this now. Like one of the polls, the poll I mentioned that we have, I think right now it's the leading vote. So, but right now, it's actually not the most likely. So again, let's not forget about it. But we can go by it right now, okay? So that's hypothesis 1, subpoint A. Subpoint B, the second possibility, is that, yes, it's with the blessing of the system, but it's not sinister. It's what they say it is. Meaning, yeah, they're actually wanting to get this out. They're wanting to get the debate, they're wanting to get some breakthrough, lift up the culture. Now, of course, you can say there's bad motives behind that too. Not bad, but like egotistical motives. Like, say they want to close the gap. They want to close the gap between the more or less breakaway insiders and the civilization at large. they, for instance, they want everybody in on this so they can get more intellectual capital. Let's say, who knows, maybe there's a conflict up there. Maybe they need us now. But whatever. Or maybe they're just going to whitewash the secret space program and missing dollars. Because one thing is for sure, and this actually, Tom DeLonge has something going for him, because that's how he approached them. He said, listen, he started with massaging their egos, saying, listen, we know you're heroes and you get no cred, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right. But also, we have a way out for you. This is your way out. And if you're in this system, damn, you better take that. It's probably the best offer they've ever got. Because they have, I mean, you see the schizophrenia in society. They are sticking to silence. Meanwhile, the whole credibility of the system is collapsing. They got a big shock when Trump won. They see that the masses are leaving anything that has to do with officials anymore. We are at the brink of revolution. They know they can't even afford. It's not necessarily from the goodness of their hearts, from their idealism, from their bad conscience. Maybe that it's a matter of necessity, and they didn't have an out. This is a possible one that can close that gap. And in the same process, they may even whitewash the secret space program and missing billions. Let's say, oh yeah, wow, yeah, anti-gravity is real. Oh, let's build some. Yeah, oh look, there's UFOs out there. Oh, let's examine that. Oh, look, let's go to the moon. Oh, let's go to Mars. And everything that's already on the agenda or already has happened can then pretend to be happening naturally. And they can get everyone on board, all the skeptics, all the religious, everything, and it works as if it's a natural evolution, as it should have happened back in the 40s. So, sure, but it's still a hypothesis that they're both in on it, and there's nothing sinister on the agenda like a false flag. That was A, right? So B is that it's going where they say it is, for whatever motives or reasons. And by the way, there may even be, in fact, I'm pretty sure there's a diverge behind the scenes between insiders. I'm pretty sure there's many who's against, who want to keep this under wraps. So even a bigger reason to support those who actually choose to come out. And the problem is when they go out, who's left, right? It's those who are in between, those who sympathize but don't dare do anything or raise their voice, and those who are against it. So those who are against it get more power as those who are for transparency and, just jig us up, let's come clean. The more those who come out, the less power they get in the system. So there's many complexities here. Now, I said there were two possibilities. This was hypothesis A, just two variations of hypothesis A. Hypothesis 2, the second one, is that DeLonge and company is not doing it with the blessing of the system. There you have two subpoints 2A. It is what it is. Meaning that everything Peter said today, of course he meant it, of course he was honest, but it was even right. And what Thomas said is correct. That's the first possibility here, which actually by Occam's razor right now is the most likely, if you want to be really rational and scientific about it. But I don't believe in Occam's razor as a practical tool, because often reality is much more complicated and fantastic than what we can reduce it to by a simple principle. So, but nevertheless, it has to be entertained and probably favored at this point. So let's wait and see. If these insiders or this project of theirs, if that meets opposition from officials, from media, from plants, trolls, shills, etc., they are for real. And by the way, then we probably missed the train. So if this doesn't go the way they want, if it just withers away or they get ridiculed or something happens to them, a scandal, prison, illness, whatever, bankruptcy, or God forbid they get suicided or accidented, which I think isn't very likely, but you never know. Or if the control files acted upon them, bam, it was for real. But again, we're not at a position yet where we have enough facts to say one thing or another. So it is what it is, has to be entertained as probably the main hypothesis right now. Then you have the subcategory of the second hypothesis, that they're not doing it with the blessing of the system, but that the system will okay it in retrospective, or just sit back and wait and see where it goes and decide if they're going to bless it, smack it down, or just keep ignoring it. But either way it's a positive. For us, I mean. Well, the only negative actually would be that they are for real, but they are quenched at some point. That's the bad thing. But even that is positive in a way, because in the process they put it on the agenda. Some of this can't be... I mean, the cat is out of the bag, kinda. At least a paw is out of the bag, and you can't put it back. It has claws. So what I mean is that you can't delete this from history. Even if they don't get the breakthrough of disclosure now, even if they don't manage to get out the exotic technology now, it's such a huge step forward that it will be much easier down the line for the next wave trying to force itself out. I mean, come on, if they are delivering free energy, anti-gravity, making it a clean public topic, don't be a reactionary jerk and dismiss it out of hand at this point, because it's not justified at this point. You don't have anything to go by at this point. What, are we battered wives who reject the help when it comes, just because we believe we will only get into deeper trouble? I don't blame anyone. We are battered wives, the public is, from the corrupt, despicable system. But let's not go insane either. Someone stretches out a hand, sure, let's be careful, but let's not reject it out of hand. Look, even back in 2001, granted it was before 9/11 and everything, there was enough reason back then to be just as cynical as today. Only different was the masses weren't. The masses were much more on board in the American dream. Like George Carlin said, it's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. And they were asleep. But even then, if you're aware, there wasn't any less reason to be cynical back then. And what about Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project? It was before 9/11, but it came out and it was accepted. I don't remember this kind of heat that they got. In fact, many of those speakers became like heroes and went off on their own. Almost made a career out of this disclosure thing. And what about Greer? You want DeLonge to use Greer's model when it comes to commercialism? Because Greer has been criticized precisely for doing what Peter just told us they're not doing, namely selling information. Like Greer sells these binoculars, night vision goggles, for extremely high price, takes people out on tours, teaches them meditation to connect with UFOs, etc. Let's not go into how effective it is, how true it is, how honest it is, whatever. All that stuff you can debate. But it's a financial model. And fair enough. I think Greer does a better job when he's making these movies, or letting people make movies about it. But never mind that. Is that what DeLonge should do? Because I don't see Greer getting this kind of suspicion. So I don't get it. I don't get it at this point. If the Disclosure Project anno 2001 was accepted, I don't see what makes this worse. Look, they're preaching transparency. If they're not transparent, come back to me. Then we have a case we can use against them. But if there were plans and shields, they wouldn't be upfront with their backgrounds. They wouldn't say, hey, I worked in the Pentagon. Hey, I worked in the CIA. Because that's the first thing we don't believe. It takes a lot. But at the other hand, they are human beings, even in CIA. So I'm saying if this doesn't go anywhere, we kind of know it was for real. Well, it depends actually on why it doesn't go anywhere. But if it doesn't go anywhere because of obstacles and challenges from the invisible hand, we know it's for real. But I don't want that to happen. I don't want to be right and lose a possibility. It's not that much worth being right. I'd rather they succeed and I was wrong. Don't you agree? So if you're skeptical, it's better that they succeed if it's real and you were wrong, but the price is you get free energy and anti-gravity. And you're not a kook when you discuss this, and you can discuss it with your grandmother while you're surfing in a personal anti-gravity vehicle. So what I'm saying here is that's the worst case scenario. Now, it may actually not go anywhere too because of public at large doesn't give it any interest, it doesn't believe it. But on the other hand, I mean, they can do their thing. They're not totally dependent on the masses being behind them. I tried to find arguments against this, and one of the more lucid came from my friend, dark journalist, and I respect him, and others like him. We need them. There are watchdogs, and they're supposed to be skeptical. They're supposed to find the dirt. I don't know where DJ is at this point right now. I'm inclined to believe he's still skeptical, but right now we're at a place where we have more to gain to give it a chance, and more to lose if not. We can't dismiss it out of hand. That's insane. Especially all of you people who has been screaming about disclosure. I was never one of you, because like I said, I never believed in it. That's what's flabbergasted me the most, actually. So now it's here and I have to relate to it, and I've been trying to find something to smack it down with, but I can't see it. And before you accuse me of being a gullible idiot, give me arguments. Give me something. And I'll be the most vocal skeptic, okay? You can stand on my shoulders while you criticize it. Look, I despise the Intel world, the so-called Intel community. It should be smashed into 1,000 pieces. It shouldn't exist in any country. I'm probably more radical than you when it comes to dissidence and system criticism. But I'm rational, and I don't see the world as black and white. And I do want a better world. If not for me, then for those who come after. Because I know the universe is huge, and fantastic things are possible. And I want this dark little globe of yours to be lifted into that light, to put it poetically. Right? No, do we want to live in Barbary? So if you have nothing but cynicism and pessimism to offer, sorry, I don't operate on that, I don't buy into it. You're entitled to that view. You can go and jerk off with that, but I need facts. And as it now stands, the facts supports Peter's elaboration from today. But like I said, it's also totally open, and right now it can go anywhere. It really can. And I don't care about being right or wrong. In fact, I'm honest about not being sure about anything regarding this crazy thing. But I'm hoping it's for real. One of the scenarios I outlined. And I hope it will succeed in that regard. And I see it like this: the more the merrier. Let DeLonge to the stars do their thing. Let Geron and the breakaway movement do their thing. Hell, even let Greer, Kesha, and whoever else, if they're for real or whatever not, let them do their thing. The more the merrier. Because the pressure builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up, and it can't be held back anymore. It's like a tidal wave. And this is just what we needed, actually. We needed some raindrops from above to contribute to that flood too. Because it's just a matter of time before the wall breaks down. But we can be useful idiots, and we can be manipulated to fight each other, divide and conquer. We can be the one taking down this instead of leaving the dirty job to the system. Imagine if the public flames this fragile attempt to such an extent that the Pentagon and Intel pushback against it becomes a cakewalk. Imagine other potential whistleblowers observing this and decides, hell no, I'm not putting my foot into that mess. It's heavy enough losing your cushy job and fat check, let alone you're going to be smeared, ridiculed, distrusted and scorned from the very public you're trying to reach out to. Quite an effective way to destroy any potential future disclosure, lest it comes from the very top, fully sanctioned and more than likely a spin job with no real use to us. Or, as is more likely, continued silence and denial, eventually rolling the narrative back so that the exceptional opportunity we now have to lift this into serious and respected mainstream discourse and analysis vanishes. So it just sinks back to tinfoil hat territory. So I don't want to be a part of that. I want to give it a chance. You give me an argument, I'll treat it fairly. I want this to be true, but I don't need it to be false. So, let's wait and see. I say give them a chance. I say everything is checked out so far, and do prove me wrong. Time will show. It's exciting times. In fact, this is not the right time to die, so stay alive, and you will definitely see what happens. One way or the other. Even if nothing happens. That's something too. So let's visualize a future where, for instance, energy is abundant, which will lift everyone out of poverty and eradicate hunger. Many people don't know how important this energy aspect is. They think it's just about, fueling your iPod or something. No, it's about actually a revolution in the world. It's about a completely different kind of world. And, movement. If you had your own anti-gravity vehicle, if I had my own, if I lived in Svalbard, Spitsbergen, let's say, I wake up in the morning, I go to Paris in 5 minutes, take a coffee and a baguette. Then I go to Egypt to meditate in the pyramid. Then I go to New York at a party, and even before the sun has gone down, I take the hottest chick with me back home to my castle in Svalbard. All that in a day. And Peter's sunny paradise won't become so exclusive anymore. That's what the future holds, if these things are allowed to unfold without sabotage from below or above. And final thought, even if, this kind of thing, this kind of pipe dream would come through, we still have to battle the bastards. We're not rid of, even in a high-tech future, they let us in on whatever's going on in the universe. We still have to deal with intel, military, industrial complex, politicians, oligarchs, etc. So nothing has changed on that front. It's just that we have to do it in a sci-fi world instead of a medieval world. Now, I'd love to hear from you where you are on this. So do comment under the video or in our community page at YouTube that I mentioned, or at our Facebook page, etc. Join the debate. Or if you're a forum insider, if you've donated, if you're a patron, we also have a forum to discuss things for the subscribers at our website, forumborealis.net. And see you there. That's it from me for now. And I am your host, Al. Thanks to our patrons and the Borealis team. You have my sincere regards. Be seeing you.
Who is number one?